Hi. Back here again to talk about some dolls. I know I have been apologizing quite a lot lately for kind of disappearing a lot, and I do want to talk about why, but I will go against my instincts and save it for the end of the video for once. Because we actually have quite a lot of dolls to talk about today. Some very exciting ones. My life story simply comes second to these little plastic women, which means I don't need much of an intro today. Let's get right into it. As always, we'll start with Barbie. And there isn't too much from her this time around. She's been a little quiet lately. One thing of note, though, the fifth doll in the new Barbie fashion model collection, Barely Blush. She's cute. I don't hate her. That is definitely some very chunky embroidery. Not sure if that's entirely intentional, but the dress is cute. The headdress is very editorial, nice color scheme. But she is, or was, because she has since sold out, 100 doll hairs, which is so incredibly unreasonable. There's just absolutely no way to justify that price. I think I have said this for practically every single new BFMC release, but these just really lack the panache of the original collection. They don't have that je ne sais quoi. And I think it more or less comes down to the authenticity of the styling. The original collection wasn't afraid to be really referential when it came to 50s and 60s fashion, whereas these are very 50s and 60s inspired. And the distinction might be subtle, but it's important. Also, I'm so tired of how flat these hairstyles are. Where's the volume? Almost every single doll in this collection has had these slick back bangs and just some kind of updo or a ponytail. I would say chignon to sound all fancy and knowledgeable, but I don't think this style really qualifies. So, final verdict, cute, but overpriced, and ultimately pretty underwhelming. But who's surprised? Next, the Barbie signature Miley Cyrus doll. She is currently up and in stock on Amazon for 80 doll hairs, which is, yeah, still pretty overpriced. Celebrity dolls are not something I really collect. I don't know, something about dolls in general that are made in the likeness of real people, I just do not gravitate towards. Which is not to say that this one looks bad or anything. I think Mattel did a pretty decent job on the face sculpt. I think they chose a really good outfit to put her in. Though all that pleather does make me very nervous. This looks like an outfit that will definitely start to disintegrate in a few years. I would be very wary of that. She's just not a doll I want to add to my collection personally, but I do love Miley, and I hope her fans are happy with this one. Next, let's talk Disney, starting with the dolls for the new Descendants film, Wicked Wonderland. I don't think I need to go through all of these one by one because generally I feel the same about all of them. I think they are definitely a bit of a downgrade from the dolls we got for the first film, which, to be fair, I didn't buy any. I did watch the movie. I liked it. I wasn't convinced enough to buy any of the dolls. I look at these pictures and it's like I can just reach into the screen and feel the crinkle from how stiff these fabrics are. I'm seeing a lot of very plasticky polyester, a lot of laser cutting, not a whole lot of hems. One here and there, like Chloe's jacket looks pretty nice. Pink's jacket looks all right. I can't believe her name is Pink. That is so ridiculous. As expected, though, because I am entirely predictable, she does have my favorite look of the bunch. I don't think I'm gonna get any. I just don't see myself seeing these in stores and feeling much of anything, to be honest. Oh, we do have a boy doll, which is nice. Unfortunately, he has molded hair and a tie and a vest that is completely printed on, which is just absolutely one of my least favorite things to ever see on dolls. That's also some really, really low resolution printing too. I think I talked about this before, but it feels like Mattel's screen printing is getting even worse lately, which is really something, isn't it? They always find a way to dig right past rock bottom somehow. Oh, but most of these, if not all of them, are currently up on Amazon and will probably be on store shelves very, very soon. Another release from Disney, the limited edition Haunted Mansion Werecat Lady doll, which will be released on July 6th and cost 150 doll hairs. I think she is absolutely fabulous. Gorgeous. The packaging and the posing and the fact that she comes with a little chaise to lounge on, I love it. Will I be paying $150 for her? No. I will not be doing that. I am just simply not that big of a fan of Haunted Mansion. I've ridden it once in my life. It was fun. It was a good time, but I can live without this doll. She's really cool though. I always love to see releases like this. Even if I'm not buying them, I can always admire them from afar. All right, we have some new Illy dolls too. There's slim box releases for Angel and Jessie, and then a deluxe release themed after Monsters, Inc. Hey, no Stitch. Let's celebrate that. Well, I guess Angel is technically just girl Stitch, but she's pink, so she gets a pass. I also think this doll is really cute. Something I find really charming about Illy dolls is that they have this authenticity. I feel like I could actually very much go to a Disney park and see this girl walking around, you know? Even if the dolls aren't incredibly elaborate, there's still a lot of thought and a lot of charm put into them. The Jessie doll is cute too. I say this every single time, I know, but I definitely do have to give props to the accessory sculpting for this line. That's a lot of the charm too. And the Monsters, Inc. girl is fun. I'm not a Monsters, Inc. super fan by any means, but I'm just really happy to see a doll that isn't Minnie and isn't Stitch. We're branching out a little. Let's keep doing that. Let's keep this energy going. Okay, Disney? Jax? You listening? Good. Oh, now let's talk about some Monster High stuff. First is the Ghostbusters Skeletor doll of Gozer. Am I saying that correctly? I hope so. I think I've watched Ghostbusters. To have the vaguest memories of it, maybe being on a TV in a room I was in at some point in my life, but it is definitely not a film that I have an intimate knowledge of or one I have any kind of personal attachment to, so like a lot of Skelectors, this just isn't a doll I feel very qualified to judge. But I'm still gonna judge her. I don't like her. I don't know. I looked up pictures of the character that this is meant to be, and I think, like, yeah, it's a pretty faithful recreation of her look in the movie, but that didn't really translate well to a doll. And this is a look that I think had a lot of potential to be elevated into something really high fashion while still being recognizable, you know? Like, imagine if you took this into more of a Mugler bodysuit type direction or something like that. Some people prefer Skelectors to be exact recreations of the characters, but I definitely prefer when they're more reimagined through this Monster High lens. I find those are the Skeletor dolls that I'm more drawn to, even if I'm not familiar with the source material. But if you're interested in her, she is still in stock on Mattel Creations for 70 doll hairs. Next, the Pride Month 2-pack featuring Kieran Valentine and, for the first time ever, Speldon Caldronello. These were released on May 29th, quite a while back. Sorry, but I did buy them, so you guys can never ever accuse me of hating boy dolls ever again. This is just hands down absolutely one of the best releases we have ever gotten from Monster High on Mattel Creations, down to the price, which was a surprisingly reasonable $55. The dolls are great, the packaging is great, the clothes are good quality, their faces are adorable. What more is there to say? Thumbs up. A+, gay rights, love wins, yowie. All right, last thing from Monster High, the San Diego Comic-Con exclusive Ghouls Rule Laguna Blue. Exclusive is in quotes because she'll be available on Mattel Creations starting July 23rd for 80 doll hairs. Oh, geez. Where do I begin? Um, I don't like this doll, and I'm so incredibly disappointed because I love Laguna. She's my favorite Monster High character. And I was always really disappointed that she never got a Ghouls Rule doll. But this, I guess problem number one is that she doesn't give Ghouls Rule at all. And problem number two is this weird gray pallor they decided to give her. For why, I have no idea, but it doesn't look good, especially with how saturated her hair looks compared to it. I like the idea of these cool thigh-high boots. Those are a nice piece. But the rest of the outfits, I don't know, I'm not feeling it, I'm not vibing with it. I think one of the aspects of Laguna that have always made her dolls very interesting to me is that the fins on her arms and her legs are a little bit of a challenge because you have to design around them. And that has often resulted in her having some interesting pieces and unique silhouettes, but this doll decided it would confront that challenge by just covering them up completely and leaving a little hole in the boots. It just feels a little uncreative to me. So I don't think I'm getting this doll. Next, there's an all new line to talk about from Zuru Mini. So these are advertised as the world's smallest posable fashion dolls and scale at about 10 centimeters tall. They do indeed have articulation, and they also have a mix of plastic and fabric clothing pieces. And I have a few problems with these. Big problems. First, they're blind boxed. I am simply at a time in my life where if I'm paying more than like $5 for something, I need to know what I'm buying. I'm tired of blind boxes. I simply just do not need them in my life anymore, and they are a business model that I'm just simply not interested in. They also utilize generative AI extensively in their promotional materials, as you probably saw on the box. From what I can tell, it's mostly like photos of the dolls that were put through an AI filter. So I don't think they were like designed with AI that I can tell. But there is also, in my opinion, just no acceptable use of AI in a brand. Not in packaging, not in art, not in the promos. I don't want to see it, like, period. But that is actually one reason why I put off making this video for so long, because I just didn't want to talk about it. It's so exhausting, y'all, to see how prevalent this is becoming in my hobby, and in a way that I know is entirely to its detriment too. And it's put me in a weird position because I can't ignore it. If I just up and ignored every instance of this, I probably wouldn't even be able to make videos at all within like a year's time. And I want to be clear and say that I don't think anyone who buys dolls that utilize AI is a bad person. I'm not here to judge what you buy. That's your business. And it's not like I'm the world's most ethical consumer of little plastic women either. But I still hate it. I just hate it. I really, really hate it. But next, new dolls from the Dress to Impress line. Lovely Hearts, Winter Rose, and Sweet Romance. I really like these. In regards to Sweet Romance specifically, I do see a few cuts from when we first saw her back when these dolls were very first announced. Nothing too bad though, she still looks really cute. I could honestly see myself buying any of these three. Probably Winter Rose, for sure. I really like this outfit, but all three appeal very nicely to my sensibilities. I'm still excited to see what else the Dress to Impress dolls have to offer. Even their faces are starting to grow on me a little. Next, a couple things from Bratz, starting with the Stylin' birthday dolls. These should be coming to Amazon soon, and they'll be $36.99 each. These are quite divisive, I've noticed. The initial reaction to these was not very positive. My first impression was also quite mixed. When I first saw them, my immediate reaction was that they are really giving Monster High, and I did not mean that necessarily in a complimentary way, which is not meant to be shade to Monster High. Okay, maybe a little. It's just not something I really expect Bratz to give, you know? Because the dolls have these very dark, very dramatic face-ups. They have a lot of black accents. And then they have these awful, corny, campy shoes with candle-shaped heels and cupcakes and whipped cream, and it's just a disconnect. Bratz is a brand that can definitely pull off dark and dramatic, and it can absolutely pull off camp. But these should have committed to one or the other. I think something else that contributed to this is that the outfits just feel kind of incomplete. Like Chloe really should have something in her hair bows, or a headband or something. Jade's outfit is way too simple. Sasha's outfit is an outfit that we've seen like 2 or 3 times now. So I am unfortunately left just a little underwhelmed, especially for a line that's supposed to be like a celebration of the brand, right? They're just not giving what I think they should be giving. And another release from Bratz, the limited edition Rodarte collaboration dolls with Chloe and Sasha. These are coming out July 6th for $75 each. This is a brand I actually really like. Rodarte's aesthetic is something that very often aligns with my own. I love the fantasy inspiration. I love the historical silhouettes they like to use a lot. It isn't a brand that I would necessarily associate with Bratz. Like, it wouldn't be the first to come to mind if I was to choose a Bratz fashion house collaboration, but I see the potential, and there's nothing wrong with, going outside the box either. I think aesthetically, they nailed it. The packaging and the details are really, really good. The problem for me is that the faces might be the worst screenings I have ever seen on a Brad stall, and I know I tend to exaggerate for the sake of comedy, but I don't think I'm joking. I don't know what happened here. Chloe looks insane. She looks absolutely crazy. Sasha looks a little better, but something's off. Something is still very suspicious. That fabric is definitely suspicious. So I don't think I will buy these. Next. Oh, here's something exciting. The grand return of LOL OMG. So if you haven't seen, LOL Surprise has recently undergone a pretty big rebrand that involved changing their faces, and that has actually carried over to the LOL OMG dolls. Our first taste of the LOL 2.0 is also from a Sanrio collaboration line featuring dolls for Hello Kitty, Cinnamoroll, My Melody, and Kuromi. I really like the new faces. I think they have a lot more dimension and more personality than the old faces did. The sculpted eyelashes are a really nice touch. And I also really like the almost like airbrush quality that the eyes have. It makes them look really cute. I do imagine these will kind of be a love it or hate it situation though, and your mileage probably varies on how much you like the old OMG dolls too. As for this line though, it looks to be more of a budget-ish slim box line than a deluxe one, which is definitely a choice for a Sanrio themed line. That has to be a time you want to go all out, for sure. But the dolls are still cute. A bit on the simpler side, and I do wish the hats were fabric rather than plastic, but there's still some cute looks. I love Hello Kitties. I think the simplicity really works in her favor, for sure. Cinnamoroll is also adorable, but I am pretty inclined to just love anything with Cinnamoroll on it. It was an interesting choice, for sure, to make the My Melody doll more on the edgier side. but I'm kind of into it. I wish her skirt had more dimension to it, or maybe more layers and wasn't just kind of a flat piece of fabric, but she's still cute. And Kuromi has a really nice color scheme. Her skirt is a really great piece. Overall, I'm really happy with these, and I'm excited to see where LOL OMG goes in the future. Fingers crossed for them. I think they have the potential to deliver some really, really great dolls. All right, obviously, I saved the most exciting for last. The newest line from MGA, Mirror Me. These were very briefly released on the MGA website and then sold out, but they'll be available at retailers pretty soon, retailing at 30 doll hairs. I think these are absolutely fabulous. In a way, I think they're exactly what the doll aisle needed because for a while, it certainly felt like we were really lacking dolls with this level of execution. They're so detailed. They're so well made. They have beautiful faces with gorgeous inset eyes and so much potential too. I am going to go through all of them individually, but as a whole, I do have just two very slight criticisms. My biggest is that I think as a group, they do lack some amount of cohesion. Like, if you just showed me this image of them all in a group and you asked me what the theme of this doll line is, I don't think I would ever in a million years be able to tell you. And also the packaging of the dolls just gives very little away as to what their concept is. Which, by the way, each doll is supposed to represent a certain emotion or feeling, which is very creative. And I like that they went well beyond like the standard happy, sad, angry, etc. I just think they can improve a little on the brand identity. I also think some of the shoe choices are confusing. But those are my only two complaints, and also this is the first line, the first wave. Knowing MGA, they could only get better from here. But let's look at the dolls. Amora Valentina, representing love. Gorge, absolutely gorgeous. I'm not sure if I'm entirely sold on the transparent leg situation here, but basically every other aspect of this doll just more than makes up for it. Also, can we appreciate how good these stock images are? I feel like it's been a while since I've seen stock images that actually go out of their way to be so expressive. Luna Sky representing Dreamy, very cute, very ethereal. Not my favorite of the bunch, but you can still absolutely see how much execution went into her. Just the layers, the details, the trim. Oh, also the blushing. I didn't even mention that yet, but the airbrushing on this dolls, on their faces and their bodies is so exquisite. I'm really impressed. Akiko Kitayama representing Cozy. She's probably my favorite. I know, I know. We're all shocked, but she's absolutely adorable. I wish she had something on her head, like cat ears would be the obvious answer, but even just a bow or a headband or something would be nice. But I absolutely love how soft and dreamy and fluffy her outfit looks. And she has a garter. Little known fact about me, I love garters, one of my favorite accessories. I will absolutely be buying her. Blaze Max, representing electric? I don't really care for this one. Famously, I don't like bubble skirts, and I think her skirt just looks like a big pleather diaper. And I also think her shoes kind of ridiculous. She's well made, though. Everything looks extremely well made, especially her sweater, which I'm pretty sure is an actual knit. As far as fashion goes, though, we can't win them all. The next two are retailer exclusives, so they weren't up on the MGA website. There's Shy Meadows representing Sheepish, another must-have for me, absolutely. Oh my god, she's so cute. The way they've mixed the textures and layered her outfit is so smart, because when you first look at her, you see all the fluff and the frills and the lace, and they kind of blend together. But the more you look, the more you also see all these little details, just really incredible craftsmanship. And then there's Suki Gold Petal, representing Fragile. I think her appeal is definitely more in her overall vibe than her outfit fashion-wise. She's definitely not the strongest, but I do like that they gave her skirt an actual structural underlayer underneath it. You almost never see that used practically in dolls. It's almost always just decorative. It definitely feels like there is something for everyone in this line. Really, like with each doll, even if you don't like her aesthetic, there's still so much to appreciate just on the level of execution and creativity. I'm really, really impressed. I can't wait to get some, and I'm so excited to see where this line goes in the future. And that was everything I had on my list for today. So now, if you'll allow me just a moment, let's get a little vulnerable. And I'm a Virgo, which means I hate being vulnerable, so bear with me. After I got hacked and, you know, almost lost absolutely everything I worked 5 years of my life for, I got scared. Not just for the obvious reasons, but it also made me realize how incredibly fragile all of this is, which is actually a thought I've had for a while now. And I know it's a little gauche to discuss finances, but it's also very important in this context. I've been doing this full time for a few years now, and I understand that's an immensely lucky position to be in. But the thing about relying on YouTube for income, though, is that it is incredibly inconsistent, and it's so easy to lose a huge chunk of your income. It just takes a copyright claim, YouTube arbitrarily deeming that your video isn't right for ads, or a video not performing well, or it could be literally that just a video gets less revenue than usual, which is something that can happen regardless of how many views it gets. And it all feels so immensely out of your control. It's stressful. It's so stressful. The more I talk, the more I realize this is starting to sound like a retirement announcement, but I promise it isn't. I'm not going anywhere. I was just very burned out. It was an aspect of being a full-time creator that I didn't account for. The pressure, the constant pressure to always perform well, to perform better, or else you quite literally lose money, you lose your income. And I just realized it wasn't a healthy mindset. It wasn't healthy for me, it wasn't healthy for my channel, and it was making it more and more difficult to just keep going. So if you're wondering where I've been for the last month or so, the answer is applying for jobs, going to interviews, and that's really its own can of worms. You guys probably don't need me to tell you how awful the job market is, but it's bad. It's so bad. It's miserable. But as of like 2 days ago, I have an offer and a pretty promising opportunity, and I am so excited to hopefully never look at Indeed ever again. I think having a more stable, consistent source of income will enable me to invest more mental energy into my channel and free up more space to feel like I can make videos without all this pressure and micromanaging myself to always perform above a certain level. To which you might ask, but isn't that the whole reason you went full time in the first place? To have more time and energy to put into this channel? And yes, that's a very valid question. And the answer was yes, in theory, just unfortunately, it didn't necessarily work out that way in practice. I think the reason I was really dragging my feet in doing this was because I interpreted it in my head as like admitting failure. But it's not like that. It was just, me putting these ridiculous standards on myself, as Virgos often do. There isn't anything wrong with recognizing that something can change about your circumstances and then, like, changing them, that's just life. So yeah, not exactly certain what the future will hold, but I do still love being a content creator. I love my community. I love the space I build. And I hope I can keep doing this for years to come, even if I'm not always the most consistent with it. All right, that's enough vulnerability and enough talking in general. As always, thank you so much for watching. It is, of course, now your turn to go down there in the comments and tell me all your thoughts. Tell me which dolls you're most excited for, which ones you're getting, which ones you might have already got, and also which ones you're not getting. Because I do support being a hater as long as you keep it civil and you keep it cute. But when you're done with all that, just be sure to like and subscribe for any future fashion doll content. Now go out, get those dolls.